Imagine a dream honeymoon in a beautiful, exotic location. Now imagine that dream turning into a nightmare, ending with the tragic murder of a newlywed bride. This is the story of Annie Dewani, whose life was brutally cut short during what should have been the happiest time of her life. This tragic event left the world shocked and her family devastated. Annie Hindocha was a vibrant and ambitious woman, born in Sweden to a well-to-do family originally from India. Annie's family was close-knit, and she had a strong bond with her parents and siblings. She was known for her beauty, intelligence, and warm personality, making her well-loved by everyone who knew her. Shrien Dewani was a successful businessman from the UK. His family, like Annie's, had roots in India, but had settled in the UK after living in Uganda. Shrien was a millionaire by the age of 30, celebrated for his business acumen and charm. His family was affluent and respected within their community. Annie and Shrien's paths crossed in London, where Annie often visited her affluent relatives. They met through a mutual acquaintance, and it was almost love at first sight. The couple quickly developed a deep connection, bonding over their shared cultural heritage and mutual aspirations. Their relationship blossomed swiftly, and within a few months, they decided to get married. Their wedding in October 2010 was nothing short of spectacular. Held in Mumbai, India, it was a grand affair steeped in tradition and opulence. The celebrations were spread over several days, featuring elaborate ceremonies, sumptuous feasts, and a plethora of guests, including family, friends, and dignitaries from both their communities. The venue for the wedding was a luxurious hotel, adorned with beautiful decorations and lights. Annie looked stunning in her traditional Indian bridal attire, and Shrien matched her elegance in his groom's outfit. The atmosphere was filled with joy, laughter, and the promise of a happy future together. The couple's happiness was evident to everyone around them, and they looked forward to their honeymoon as the beginning of their lifelong adventure together. After their extravagant wedding, Annie and Shrien set off for their honeymoon in South Africa. They chose this destination for its unique blend of adventure and luxury. The couple planned to enjoy the stunning landscapes, rich wildlife, and the vibrant culture of South Africa. Their honeymoon began with a thrilling safari in Kruger National Park. They spent days watching wildlife, enjoying the natural beauty, and sharing intimate moments in the wilderness. It was a perfect start to their honeymoon, filled with excitement and romance. On November 12, 2010, they arrived in Cape Town, known for its picturesque scenery and upscale amenities. They checked into the Cape Grace Hotel, one of the city's most luxurious accommodations. The hotel offered them comfort and elegance, fitting for their honeymoon. However, Annie wanted to experience more than just the tourist spots. She desired to see the real Africa, which set the stage for the fateful night that followed. On the night of November 13th, Shrien and Annie decided to hire a taxi for a private tour of a local township. They were driven by Zola Tongo, a taxi driver who had been recommended to them. This decision was driven by Annie's wish to explore beyond the tourist attractions and experience the local culture firsthand. What started as an adventure soon turned into a nightmare. Around 10:45 p.m., two armed men hijacked their vehicle. The assailants, Mziwa Madoda Kwabe and Zalail Manjini, commandeered the taxi and drove the couple around for approximately an hour. During this terrifying ordeal, Shrien was forcibly ejected from the car. The hijackers sped away with Annie still inside the vehicle. The next morning, November 14th, 2010, brought devastating news. Annie's body was discovered in the back seat of the abandoned vehicle in Khayelitsha, a township on the outskirts of Cape Town. She had been shot at close range in the neck, her life brutally and senselessly ended. The initial shock and grief that engulfed Annie's family and friends were immeasurable. The discovery of her body marked the beginning of a complex and highly publicized investigation that would capture international attention and lead to numerous twists and turns. The question on everyone's mind was, why did this tragedy happen? The tragic murder of Annie Dewani on her honeymoon shocked South Africa and the world. The South African Police Service SAPS quickly launched a thorough investigation into the incident. The initial task was to piece together what had happened on the night of November 13, 2010. The police began by examining the crime scene in Khayelitsha, where Annie's body was found in the abandoned taxi. They collected evidence from the vehicle and the surrounding area, looking for clues that could lead them to the perpetrators. The discovery of Annie's body, with a fatal gunshot wound to her neck, indicated that she had been the victim of a violent crime. The police interviewed Shrien Dewani, who was deeply distressed and claimed he had been thrown out of the taxi by the hijackers. His account of the events helped the police understand the timeline of the hijacking and the possible motives behind it. However, the initial findings were not conclusive, and the police needed more concrete evidence to identify the culprits. A significant breakthrough came when forensic experts examined the abandoned taxi. They found a thumbprint on the left fender of the car. This thumbprint did not belong to any of the victims, leading the police to believe it was left by one of the hijackers. The print was run through the police database, and it matched Exalil Mangini, a local man with a criminal record. Mangini was known to the police due to his involvement in previous crimes. His criminal history included violent offenses, making him a prime suspect in the hijacking and murder case. The discovery of his thumbprint on the car's fender provided the police with a crucial lead. On November 16, 2010, just a few days after the murder, the police arrested Exalil Mangini at his home. Following Mangini's arrest, the police intensified their investigation. They interrogated Mangini, who eventually confessed to being involved in the hijacking. During his confession, Mangini named two accomplices, Mziwa Madoda Kwabe and Mondem Balumbo. Mziwa Madoda Kwabe was arrested shortly after, on November 18, 2010. Initially, Kwabe denied any involvement in the crime. However, after being confronted with evidence and the confession from Mangini, he admitted to participating in the hijacking and kidnapping. Kwabe provided further details, revealing that the crime was not just a random act of violence but a planned operation. Mondem Balumbo, a hotel receptionist, was also implicated in the crime. He was arrested on the same day as Kwabe, and Balumbo's role was crucial in orchestrating the hijacking. He initially denied any involvement, but under police pressure, he confessed to arranging the crime. Balumbo's confession added another layer to the case, indicating that there was a premeditated plan behind the hijacking and murder of Annie Dewani. As the investigation continued, the police turned their attention to Zola Tongo, the taxi driver who had been with the Dewanis on the night of the hijacking. Tongo was initially considered a victim, but as more evidence emerged, his role in the crime became suspicious. On November 20, 2010, Tongo decided to come forward with a confession. He claimed that Shrien Dewani had hired him to arrange the hijacking and murder of Annie. According to Tongo, Shrien offered him a large sum of money to make the crime look like a random act of violence. Tongo's confession was a shocking development, implicating Shrien Dewani as the mastermind behind his wife's murder. Tongo's account provided a detailed description of the planning and execution of the crime. He explained how he had enlisted the help of Mangini, Kwabe, and Balumbo to carry out the hijacking. Tongo's testimony was critical in shaping the narrative of the investigation, suggesting that the crime was a premeditated murder for hire orchestrated by Shrien Dewani. The murder of Annie Dewani and the subsequent investigation attracted massive media attention in South Africa and the UK. The case was covered extensively by newspapers, television channels, and online news platforms. The media scrutiny added pressure on the police and legal system to solve the case and deliver justice. In South Africa, the case highlighted issues of crime and safety, particularly concerning tourists. The country, known for its high crime rates, faced a backlash as the murder of a foreign tourist's wife made international headlines. The tourism industry, vital to South Africa's economy, suffered as potential visitors reconsidered their travel plans due to safety concerns. In the UK, the case was closely followed due to Shrien Dewani's high-profile status and the tragic loss of Annie. The British media reported extensively on the investigation, trial, and public reactions. Annie's family, devastated by her loss, became vocal advocates for justice, garnering widespread public sympathy and support. The media coverage was relentless, with daily updates on the investigation and trial proceedings. The public reaction was one of shock and disbelief. Many were horrified by the brutal nature of the crime and the allegations against Shrien Dewani. The case sparked debates about safety, trust, and justice, with opinions divided on Shrien's involvement. After the shocking allegations made by Zola Tongo, the South African authorities sought to bring Shrien Dewani back to South Africa to stand trial for the murder of his wife, Annie Dewani. Extradition is a complex legal process that involves one country handing over a suspect to another country where they are wanted for prosecution or punishment. In this case, South Africa requested the UK to extradite Shrien Dewani. Initially, Shrien Dewani's defense team fought against the extradition, citing concerns over his mental health. They argued that he was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD) and depression, making him unfit to stand trial. Despite these claims, a UK court ruled in 2013 that Shrien could be extradited to South Africa, provided that his health was closely monitored. Shrien Dewani arrived in South Africa in April 2014. The media frenzy around his arrival was intense, with journalists and photographers capturing every moment. Shrien was placed in a secure medical facility where he was assessed to ensure he was fit to participate in the legal proceedings. Once his health was deemed stable, the legal battle began in earnest. The prosecution's case against Shrien Dewani was built on the testimonies of the accomplices Zola Tongo, Meziwa Madoda Kwabi, and Zalail Manjani. The prosecution argued that Shrien had orchestrated the murder of his wife, making it look like a random hijacking. They presented several pieces of evidence to support their claims. CCTV footage. The prosecution presented CCTV footage showing Shrien Dewani meeting with Zola Tongo before the night of the hijacking. They argued that this meeting was to finalize the details of the murder plan. Testimonies from accomplices Tongo, Kwabi, text messages and phone records. The prosecution also presented evidence of text messages and phone calls between Shrien and the accomplices. These communications were used to argue that Shrien was in constant contact with the men he allegedly hired to kill his wife. Financial motive. The prosecution suggested that Shrien had financial motives for wanting Annie dead. They pointed to Shrien's alleged financial difficulties and the potential life insurance payout as possible reasons for the murder. The prosecution painted a picture of a calculated and cold-blooded plot by Shrien to get rid of his wife under the guise of a tragic hijacking. Shrien Dewani's defense team mounted a vigorous defense, challenging the credibility of the prosecution's witnesses and the reliability of the evidence. Their strategy focused on several key points. Inconsistencies in testimonies. The defense highlighted numerous inconsistencies in the testimonies of Tongo, Kwabi, and Manjani. They argued that the accomplices had changed their stories multiple times and had reasons to lie, such as reduced sentences in exchange for their cooperation. Mental health. Shrien's defense team continued to emphasize his mental health issues. They argued that his PTSD and depression made it implausible for him to have orchestrated such a complex plot. They also suggested that his mental state affected his behavior and reactions during the hijacking. Lack of direct evidence. The defense pointed out that there was no direct evidence linking Shrien to the murder. They argued that the CCTV footage, phone records, and text messages did not conclusively prove that Shrien had planned the murder. They contended that the meetings and communications could have been innocent and unrelated to the crime. Character witnesses. The defense brought in character witnesses who testified to Shrien's good character and his loving relationship with Annie. These witnesses aimed to counter the prosecution's portrayal of Shrien as a manipulative and calculating individual. Alleged police coercion. The defense suggested that the confessions from the accomplices were obtained under duress and that the police may have coerced them into implicating Shrien. The defense's goal was to create reasonable doubt about Shrien's involvement in the crime, suggesting that the prosecution's case was built on shaky foundations. The trial of Shrien Dewani was marked by intense courtroom drama, with emotional testimonies, legal arguments, and media coverage. Tongo's testimony was a pivotal moment in the trial. He described how he allegedly met with Shrien to plan the murder, providing detailed accounts of their conversations and agreements. The defense aggressively cross-examined Tongo, questioning his credibility and the changes in his story. The CCTV footage showing Shrien meeting with Tongo was played in court. The prosecution argued that this footage was proof of the planning, while the defense claimed it was taken out of context. Annie's family members testified about their grief and loss, painting a picture of a loving and vibrant young woman whose life was cut short. Their emotional testimonies added a human element to the trial, highlighting the impact of the tragedy. Shrien took the stand to defend himself, denying any involvement in his wife's murder. He described the hijacking from his perspective, insisting that he was a victim of a random act of violence. His testimony was a crucial part of the defense strategy. After months of testimony and legal arguments, the judge delivered a verdict in December 2014. The judge ruled that the prosecution had failed to provide sufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Shrien Dewani had orchestrated the murder of his wife. As a result, Shrien was acquitted of all charges. The acquittal sparked a range of reactions. Annie's family was devastated and vocal about their disappointment with the verdict. They felt that justice had not been served and continued to seek answers about what really happened to their daughter. The public reaction was also mixed, with some people believing in Shrien's innocence while others were convinced of his guilt. The case left many questions unanswered and remains a topic of debate and speculation. Despite the legal resolution, the true story of what happened to Annie Dewani on that fateful night may never be fully known. Despite Shrien Dewani's acquittal, many questions remain about the true motives behind Annie's murder. The prosecution suggested several possible motives, but none were definitively proven. One theory was financial trouble. There were rumors that Shrien was facing financial difficulties and that a substantial life insurance payout from Annie's death could have provided a way out. However, the defense countered this by showing that Shrien was a successful businessman with no significant financial issues. Another potential motive discussed was personal issues, particularly regarding Shrien's sexuality. During the trial, it was revealed that Shrien had relationships with men, which he had kept secret from Annie and her family. The prosecution suggested that Shrien might have felt trapped in the marriage and saw Annie's death as a way to free himself from this predicament. However, the defense argued that Shrien's personal life had no bearing on the murder, and that these allegations were irrelevant to the case. The unresolved nature of these motives adds to the mystery surrounding the case, leaving room for speculation and doubt about what truly happened and why. Annie's family was deeply dissatisfied with the outcome of the trial. They believed that there was enough evidence to convict Shrien and felt that justice had not been served. The Hindocha family, particularly Annie's father Vinod and her brother Anish, have been vocal about their quest for justice. After the acquittal, the family pursued further legal action and continued to raise awareness about the case. They worked tirelessly to keep Annie's memory alive and to push for a re-examination of the evidence. Their efforts included appearing in media interviews, participating in documentaries, and speaking at public events. The family's relentless pursuit of justice highlights their commitment to finding the truth and ensuring that Annie's death is not forgotten. Their determination also underscores the broader issue of seeking justice in cases where the legal outcome is disputed by the victims' families. The media played a significant role in shaping public perception of the case. From the moment Annie's body was discovered, the case received extensive coverage in both South Africa and the UK. The media scrutiny continued throughout the investigation, the trial, and even after Shrien's acquittal. Documentaries, news articles, and television specials delved into the details of the case, often presenting differing viewpoints. Some media outlets focused on the alleged inconsistencies in the prosecution's case, while others highlighted the emotional testimonies from Annie's family and the shocking nature of the crime. Public speculation was fueled by the media coverage, with opinions divided on Shrien's innocence or guilt. Online forums and social media platforms buzzed with debates and theories about the case. This ongoing interest kept the case in the public eye and maintained pressure on the authorities to re-evaluate the evidence. The media's portrayal of the case also influenced public perception of the justice system and the effectiveness of legal proceedings in high-profile cases. The murder of Annie Dewani and the subsequent legal battles had profound effects on the lives of those involved. Shrien Dewani, despite being acquitted, faced immense personal and professional challenges. The intense media scrutiny and public speculation took a toll on his mental health and reputation. He struggled to rebuild his life and regain a sense of normalcy. The shadow of the accusations continued to follow him, impacting his relationships and career. For Annie's family, the loss was devastating. They not only had to cope with the grief of losing a beloved daughter and sister, but also the frustration of feeling that justice had not been served. The prolonged legal battle and media attention added to their emotional burden. Their lives were forever changed, and they channeled their grief into their quest for justice and efforts to keep Annie's memory alive. The accomplices in the case, Zolatongo Mziwa Madoda Kwabe and Zalail Mangini, also faced significant consequences. They were convicted and sentenced for their roles in the crime. The legal proceedings and their involvement in such a high-profile case affected their lives and their families' lives. In the wake of Annie's tragic death, her family established a foundation in her memory. The Annie Dewani Foundation focuses on raising awareness about domestic violence and supporting victims of crime. The foundation's work is a testament to Annie's legacy and the Hindocha family's commitment to turning their grief into positive action. The foundation organizes events, educational programs, and support services for victims of domestic violence. By sharing Annie's story, they aim to prevent similar tragedies and provide resources for those in need. The foundation also works to influence policy changes and improve the support systems for victims of crime.
Annie's memory lives on through the foundation's work and the ongoing efforts of her family. Their dedication to making a difference in the lives of others ensures that Annie's life and tragic death have a lasting impact beyond the courtroom drama and media spectacle.